This quarterback class isn't nearly as deep as we expected it to be at the beginning of the season, as quite a few potential prospects have decided to return to school, and the top guys have some serious questions and concerns. With the Senior Bowl a little over a month away, let's take a look at my top 10 quarterbacks for the 2023 NFL Draft. And what's crack-a-lacking? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Special thanks to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the video. If you like weekly fantasy or maybe player prop bets, go ahead, sign up at Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Broshmo, and they'll hook you up a little bit from the get-go to start your betting journey. And remember, my friends, bet responsibly. Let's go ahead and get into this sucker with number 10, Dorian Thompson Robinson out of UCLA, 6'1", 205. He was initially a 4-star recruit from the 2018 class. Ended up getting a crack at the starting job in 2019. Never really let go since this season. This was a season where he decided to use that extra year of eligibility from the Rona, and he led the Bruins to almost the Pac-12 championship game. They fell a bit short, but still a quality year from DTR. And ultimately, I think this is a cat that will end up switching positions at the NFL because mobility is easily his biggest asset. He actually runs, despite being a bit thin, runs with good contact balance. He's got a decent stiff arm, and I just think it's more ideal for him to switch to maybe a slot receiver type of role in the NFL. While he has improved as a passer over the course of him being a starter, it's not on par what you want from an NFL quarterback. He's got an average arm. His release is more akin to a pitcher than an NFL quarterback. His vision over the middle could be all over the place. We've seen lack of ball placement. We've seen turnover-worthy plays. Just go to the USC game. And ultimately, I think he's a guy with great athletic upside that's just not going to be a quarterback in the NFL. On to number 9, Jake Haener out of Fresno State. We got this cat at 6'1", 195. Former 3-star recruit from the 2018 class. Started his collegiate career out at Washington. Ultimately did transfer to Fresno State, where he actually has been freaking wonderful for the Bulldogs. Almost decided to go back to Washington this season, but ultimately decided to stay there at Fresno State. He did get hurt early in the season with an ankle injury, which was, I believe, the same ankle that plagued him in 2021. But he returned 5 weeks later, led the Bulldogs to the Mountain West Championship game, won it, and then proceeded to win the LA Bowl that's named for Jimmy Kimmel for some reason. It is what it is. The first thing you're going to notice, yes, the size, it's not great. He lacks ideal arm strength as well. This is a cat that likes to throw with time and throw with anticipation. But you do see many turnover-worthy plays. A lot of them actually happen in the red zone, so they're extremely costly. But I love the timing and anticipation he throws with. He's got pinpoint accuracy underneath and on like intermediate routes. He throws with good touch. He could throw with good zip. He has the ability to work outside of structure. Ultimately, this guy is just a gamer, and you're going to see a very popular comp for him being Taylor Heineke. Take that as you will. But number 8, we got Aiden OConnell out of Purdue, 6'3", 210. I got him as a mid-day 3 prospect because I think this cat has a decent shot at being a very good backup in the NFL. He was initially a walk-on there at Purdue, didn't play his first 2 seasons, but ended up just grinding his way to becoming a starter, and actually one of the better starters we've seen at Purdue in quite some time. He has been very good over the last 2 seasons. This season leading Purdue to the Big Ten championship game, where they got ultimately smacked by Michigan, but it's Michigan. They're going to do that to teams. But I really love this cat. Like, I really do. Like, he has some of the best time and anticipation in this class. He just knows how to put the ball on the money, and he also gives his receivers a chance to make the play after the catch. Like, his ball placement is pretty darn good. Does lack ideal arm strength, but he understands that, and he kind of makes up for that with throwing with just good anticipation. This is a guy that knows how to go through progressions fairly quickly, and this is a cat that he can take a hit. He'll stand in the pocket and he'll take a hit if it means making the throw. Coaches, teammates, they rave about his work ethic, his leadership. This dude went from walk-on to freaking an amazing quarterback at the collegiate level. He went from undesirable to undeniable. Finally got the Cody Rhodes quote right. But again, he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not going to be a guy that can consistently challenge downfield. There are times also when pressure is on and he goes into hero ball mode and the turnovers start to come, and sometimes they kind of waterfall and get out of hand. Ultimately though, mid-day 3 prospect, big fan of O'Connell. Number 7, Clayton Tune out of Houston, 6'3", 215. He was initially a 3-star recruit in the 2018 class. He ended up seeing action pretty early because of the starter there for Houston. Derek Keene ended up going down with injury, and eventually he ended up holding on to the starting position not too long after that, and this season threw for 40 TDs. Kind of legit, and he reminds me a lot, at least I get this feeling of Bailey Zappi, not in terms of their play style, because the type of confidence they throw with is definitely different. As I would say, Zappi kind of threw with confidence that he can make the throw, even despite what his arm limitations are. While Tune, he throws with confidence in his receivers to make a play, and that's sometimes to his detriment, because when you're throwing to Nathaniel Tank Dell and it ends up being a contested catch ball, it's not ideal when your receiver's like 5'6", 165 wet. It's just not. But this is a dude I think has a very high floor as a high-end backup, and in terms of ceiling, I could see him being a top 20 starter someday. I really do. Might not have the huge arm, but he throws with a lot of precision. He anticipates a lot of his throws, and he's got a good enough arm to get it to the short to intermediate level. I love how he just kind of dissects the defense pre-snap, and he throws with the clock. Like, this guy can anticipate pressure, where it's coming from, and he sets a clock in his head. He goes through his progressions quickly, delivers the ball on time. He also does have plus mobility. He can extend plays with his feet if he needs to. And ultimately, man, you just love the type of moxie this kid plays with. However, the arm, it is middling. There are also inconsistencies with his deep ball, whether it's the accuracy, whether it sails on him at times. His arm just isn't impressive when we're talking about it from a deep ball perspective. It's really a baseline arm for the NFL. I did mention his mobility, but be real, go watch some Clayton Tune. I highly suggest it. He's fun. But you look at his speed, his athleticism, he's not scaring any NFL defender with his feet. He is just not. And again, I kind of get this nice Bailey Zappi vibe from him. That's why I got him as an early day 3 prospect. Number 6 on my list here is Hendon Hooker, man. Hooker's had a very interesting journey to Tennessee. He was formerly a 4-star recruit out of the 2017 class. He ended up going to Virginia Tech, where he spent some time there as a starter, eventually moved on to Tennessee, where he became a star. This year, I think unquestionably would have been the Heisman Trophy winner, if not for the ACL injury, unfortunately. Doesn't take away the magic that he did this season. He really had Tennessee contending there. But Hooker's a very, very fun prospect to watch. This dude could just launch the football, like with a flick of a wrist. He could send it 60 yards. He could send it sailing 60 yards. We'll come back to that in a little bit. but he is a cat that can throw with like 3 guys on his back. He can throw through contact. He's got a great build, and also he could probably put more weight on that build to be able to take hits, because he's got good mobility to him, man. He's low-key, like, scary elusive. Like, he can get out. He did a lot of running the last 2 years there at Tennessee, but I think he did some of his best work from the pocket because he does throw with very good touch. However, the biggest concerns when it comes to Hooker is going to be age and the injury. This dude's going to be 25 once he signs that rookie deal. Typically, when you're an older prospect, you're physically tapped out. Your tools are your tools at that point. That's why these teams search for these young prospects, because then they look at their ceilings, what they can become. With Hendon Hooker, it's kind of what you see is what you get. We talk about the arm. He just doesn't throw with zip downfield. I don't think he has that arm capable of throwing on a rope downfield. The underneath accuracy, it's not ideal. I really don't think it is. And then on top of that, he's coming off the ACL injury that's likely going to cost him most of his rookie year, if not all of it. Earlier, I had this guy in like the top 75, top 50 mix. I think 4th round, maybe even fringe day 2 is probably about the right area for Hendon Hooker currently, when you consider, again, the age and that he's likely going to miss his rookie season. But the dude had a magical year. You can't take anything away from that. On to number 5, Tanner McKee out of Stanford. This dude is 6'6", 228. I think he could be a fringe first rounder. Really depends on the team. There's going to be a few teams that are like, not in love with him. But this kid beat skin cancer at the age of 16. When you see him wearing long sleeves and it's like 90 degrees with humidity, probably 123. That's why he does it. Skin's a little sensitive, but he was the number 3 quarterback recruit from the 2018 class, and that was behind Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. He ended up going on a Mormon mission trip for 2 years before going to Stanford, and then when he did arrive at Stanford, he was the backup to Davis Mills. He has started the last 2 seasons. Unfortunately, for McKee, the Cardinals just didn't have a lot of talent on that roster. Ultimately, it led to David Shaw being fired, and McKee just hasn't been able to get a lot of production because just there's not a lot of talent around him. But in terms of what you're getting from the prospect, like this guy was already operating more of this pro style scheme under David Shaw. I love his pre-snap recognition. This guy, when making he is quick to make adjustments, call audibles. He's got an ideal arm for the NFL. He's got good size for the NFL. He combines that with better than you'd expect athleticism, though it's not great. Don't get me wrong. It's like, oh, he could kind of move. Kind of. But I like the poise in the pocket. I think this year, the poise wasn't nearly as... I don't even want to say it was as poised. I think he took more sacks this year than he did in 2021. And I think he was trying to play less hero ball, even though that was kind of warranted with how bad his team was. And one of the bigger criticisms for McKee in this process will be for a guy that can't really get it done with his feet or extend plays in that sort of way, a guy that's going to have to process, he's going to just have to process the field quicker than he was doing at the collegiate level. I think a lot of that was just he wasn't seeing windows. And you know what? At the NFL, you're not going to see great windows. Your receivers aren't always going to be able to get you to have nice open windows for you to throw in. Sometimes you're going to have to throw your receivers open, and I think this year was a bit more conservative, because I would definitely say you got 2021 where he's more willing to play some hero ball. He was playing through a knee injury, I believe. It was listed as leg injury, but played through that, threw dirt on it, was like, come on, we're going to try to win games out here. And this year's McKee was like, I kind of am being looked at as a legit prospect now, so I want to be a bit more wiser with the football, and it just ultimately led to more sacks. And for a guy that's going to have to get it done quicker at an NFL level because you're not going to be afforded time, you don't have the luxury of extending plays with your feet. You're going to have to make decisions quickly, even when the windows don't look great or are non-existent. You're going to have to find ways to throw your receivers open. But the good thing is, with McKee, he's got an arm that's totally capable of doing that. So I'm a big fan of Tanner McKee. On to Anthony Richardson here at number 4, 6'4", 236. This dude is just an uber athlete, and I ain't talking Uber Eats. This man's in shape. He's fit. If you couldn't tell, this man runs with the quickness of Lamar and the contact balance of Cam Newton. He could absorb it. I wouldn't say he's nearly as quick as Lamar. Lamar's kind of wild, but this is probably the best running quarterback we've seen since Lamar Jackson. I think that's fair to say. But he got his first crack at being a starter, full-time starter this season. And it came with its moments of brilliance and awe. And then it came with, oh man, this guy's a project. This guy, you do not want this guy taking one snap in year one of his NFL career. You just don't. Now, initially, off the small sample size prior to the season, I was like, you know what? I don't think his accuracy is bad. I think he's just late on a lot of throws. There are times where he sits on routes for too long. And then this season, it was like, oh no, his accuracy is just not that good. Okay, cool. That's the fun thing about getting a bigger sample size. But you look at this cat with all the tools, sky's the limit. If you're willing to develop him, and that's why I list him as a top 50, because I don't think every team will be sold on like taking him round 1. And if he makes it to round 2, best believe it, early in round 2, teams are going to be like, I'll take a shot on that. But even at the back end of the first round, it's like, I think it's worth having the 5th-year option on this guy. Let's take a swing. I mean, shoot, that's the NFL draft. You're taking swings of the bat and hoping it works out. But ultimately, uber athlete, sky's the limit. Love me a little bit of the AR. Now, on to my top 20. And by top 20, I mean Will Levis. He's number 3. He's a top 20 prospect. We'll kind of discuss why that's the case, at least for me. 6'3", 232, former 3-star recruit from the 2018 class, spent a few years at Penn State, unable to beat out Sean Clifford. That's right, the Nittany Lion great himself, Sean Clifford. He ended up going to Kentucky and actually found a lot of success. Led the Wildcats to 10 wins in 2021. And then this year, a little meh. It was a little meh. And I mean, through the middle of the year, he was kind of battling injuries. He had a minor shoulder injury. He had lingering turf toe. So it's like, okay, you know, I can understand why it wasn't all that great. But however, you know what? We'll get to it. Let's just talk about why people love this guy, because tools on tools on tools on tools on tools. That's why you love this cat. This guy can throw with velocity. He has a quick release. He can throw the ball 40 to 50 yards pretty effortlessly. He operated a very NFL ready, NFL translatable scheme there at Kentucky the past 2 seasons, with 2021 his OC being former Rams offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, and then you have this year, before he got fired, you had former 49ers quarterback coach Rich Scangarello. I'm terrible with names. My apologies. But yeah, he ended up getting fired. And it's funny. They went back. They ended up Liam going. Ended up taking the job back. So kind of weird. Circularly, like I know he was initially a assistant with the Rams, and he goes OC for Kentucky. All right, we're back with the Rams. OC for the Rams, and back to being OC for Kentucky. Kind of weird. But anyway, so Levis is a guy that has seen a lot of NFL route concepts. He knows how to operate an NFL offense, and honestly, going back to 2021, as the season went on, this dude's feel for the pocket, this dude's ability to go through progressions, and his decision making got a lot better. Just his feel for time and anticipation, it all got a lot better. So we expected big things from Kentucky and from Levis this season, and they just ultimately didn't come to fruition. And a lot of that came to the decision making. The decision making, it just wasn't great. And for me, that's kind of hard to get by when between the ears, there's something wrong there. They're going to be super turnover worthy in the NFL. Like, some people want to be like, well, I mean, shoot, Josh Allen was that way. Let's be fair. Like, Josh Allen, when it comes to tools, was a freak. How he was built athletically was a freak. Like, Will Levis is like value brand in the clearance aisle Josh Allen. Like, it's unfair to make that comparison. Even like Levis has plus mobility. He's got a frame that can absorb contact, just not to the level of Josh Allen. I would say probably you're looking more at maybe like a Daniel Jones, and this is not a comp, Holly G, but more of a Daniel Jones in terms of what people expected his ceiling to be. So that's where I would say, like, I think those are fair expectations when it comes to Will Levis, wherever you thought the ceiling would be for Daniel Jones when he was coming out, I think those are fair expectations for Will Levis. There's going to be a ton of coaches that are going to be like, you know what, we could fix the decision making, because you did see it in parts of game this year. Parts of games, like, you saw the brilliance. The second half of the Ole Miss game, you saw that. So it's like, how can we get that to be more consistent? So, yeah, Will Levis here at number 3. On to number 2, I got CJ Stroud at Ohio State. This dude is 6'3", 218. I got him as a top 10 prospect, former 4-star recruit out of the 2020 class, was a starter in 2021. And this year led his team to the college football playoff. So good luck, CJ Stroud and the Buckeyes. But this dude has ideal size. He's got ideal arm talent. His arm's by no means elite, but it is definitely on like a scale of 1 to 10. I'd give it an 8. I think it's a pretty darn good arm, because when you watch how he throws the football, this guy can throw it however you want it. You can place the ball where he wants. He throws with good touch. He can drive the ball downfield. He can put it on a dart. He could throw with such an arc, it just drops into the bread baskets of his receivers. Like, his arm is capable of that. I think that's been on display all year long, man. This is a cat that can literally throw his wide receivers open if he has to. I think he processes the field pretty darn well, pretty darn quickly. And this year, I thought he was more willing to dump off to his checkdowns a lot more rather than trying to force something deep. I thought that was something more so we saw in 2021. Now, where people are going to get stuck with Stroud is, like, this guy has got plus mobility. He just prefers not to work outside of structure very much. He is very much so a pocket quarterback, but he can improvise when he needs to. However, this year under pressure, he has been pretty bad. Under pressure this season, he's thrown 7 turnover-worthy plays, and his accuracy falls off a cliff, 46.6% when under pressure. Like, he just gets too panicky. And, like, I go back to the Michigan game where it's like, okay, you saw areas where, oh, man, this guy's trying to improvise. Pressure's on. And not even necessarily makes a dumb throw, but like, just things end up not working out. He had a lot of bad drops in that game from Cade Stover, thank you. But in other parts of the year, when he gets panicky, it's been bad. So at the NFL, you know what? You're going to be seeing a pressure a lot more. Now, does that mean I think this guy's like Carson Wentz in the pocket? No. I don't think he's going to be feeling phantom pressure. I know that being at Ohio State, he's afforded a lot of time and he has a lot of playmakers. But this is a cat that can make all those special throws. He has shown the ability to have to improvise when the time comes. Just he needs to play better under pressure, play with more of a leveled head. And I think he's capable of that. I think the ceiling's very high for Mr. Stroud. Also, go check out his story. He's got a really good story where growing up, father in and out of prison, how he had to deal with that. Like, it is pretty admiring, man. Like, this guy's take on life and moving forward, living in a single mother household. It's pretty inspiring. And my number 1 is Bryce Young. You probably could have guessed it. 6 foot, 194. We'll get to it. But he was a former 5-star recruit, became a starter in 2021. He is the only Alabama quarterback to throw for 3,000 yards in 2 seasons. So congratulations. He led his team to the national championship in 2021. They lost, but they did win the SEC championship that year, and they just missed the playoffs this season. So quite unfortunate. But this dude, I think, is the best thrower of the football in this class. Like, the way he processes and reads the field is just on a whole nother level compared to, I think, anyone else in this class. I love how he maneuvers the pocket. I think he's very Patrick Mahomes-esque with how he maneuvers the pocket, extends plays with his feet while keeping his eyes downfield, and his feel, like, he's got a great feel of where his receivers should be, or are going to be, and he throws with good anticipation. He can make those off-platform throws. He's got a pretty deep ball. He can throw with great touch. He can throw with good zip. He's got one of the quickest throwing motions in this class, and I think this is going to be, I don't think all the draft community is going to be with me on this, but I think he processes the middle of the field exceptionally well. I really do. Now, the big con. Size. He's so small. He's not going to have longevity in the NFL. Boo the frick who. I get it. Some teams, some people out there are just going to be like, you know what? That's just too small. It just is. And you know what? I don't disagree with you. Basically, I'm coming from that. I think he can overcome that, while the opposite side is like, this doesn't really work in the NFL. You're really looking for the exception. And I'm often preaching you shouldn't draft the exception to the standard. And here I am talking about the exception to the standard. But like, I just think he's that special of a passer. I'm willing to risk the dice. Yeah, he does need to put on more weight. He's pretty good when, as a runner, taking care of his body. It wasn't until this season in the Arkansas game he was extended to play towards the sideline, gets tackled, falls on his shoulder, ends up being a sprain in his AC joint in his shoulder. But he misses one game, comes back right after the Texas A&M game, and he just starts lighting it up once again. And it's not like he had the best playmakers to throw to this season, yet he was still getting it done. I think Mike Renner tweeted this out a month or so ago, that he might have some of the prettiest incompletions on tape. Like, he's that good of a thrower. Like, a lot of his playmakers let him down this year at Alabama. But listen, if you can't get by the size, I get it. I understand that. It kind of is what it is. I think he can overcome that. But a couple of guys who I think I should touch on real quick who did not make the list. Cameron Ward, I fully expect him to come back to school, especially after the LA Bowl. It wasn't exactly ideal. He's a guy that needs to improve his decision making, but has a ton of arm talent. And then Spencer Rattler, I just don't know how you can draft him with the character concerns. Maybe another year, or maybe a bit more consistency. I say consistency just from a character standpoint. Be like, oh, okay, this is a guy that's turned over a new leaf. In terms of his play style, it hasn't changed. This is a guy that rather work outside of structure, and he doesn't check down the ball a ton. He continuously looks for the big play. Like, you could have all the arm talent in the world, man. If you're not willing to work inside a structure, if you're not willing to go to your checkdowns, I don't think you're gonna be a very high risk, high reward type of quarterback. A roll of the dice. And with those character concerns, I'd rather roll that dice as a priority UDFA. So I expect him to return to South Carolina. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing, and as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.